so they'll be free to campaign for an exit. But this morning, the Prime Minister made it clearer than ever that he would be campaigning to stay in the EU. This is what he said to Andrew Marr.
My aim is clear. Best of both worlds for Britain, the massive prize of sorting out what frustrates us about Europe, but staying in a reformed Europe. And that prize is closer than it was, and I'm going to work round the clock to get that done. The government's not going to be sort of neutral about this issue, with people on one side or on the other. My intention is that the conclusion of the negotiation, the Cabinet has a discussion and reaches a clear recommendation to the British people of what we should do. I hope that will be staying in a reformed European Union, because I will have got a good negotiation for Britain. And at that point, a clear government position that I'm saying, you know, members of the Cabinet, ministers who have long-standing held views on a different basis, they'll be able to campaign in a personal capacity.
And we're joined now by the Eurosceptic Conservative MP, David Davis. Welcome back to the programme. So the Prime Minister's made it pretty clear, I think we can agree, that he's going to lead the in campaign.
Yeah.
Who should lead the out campaign?
Oh, God knows. I don't actually think the personalities matter on the out campaign. The Prime Minister matters on the in campaign. There's a very big symbolism there. But on the out campaign, you've got Nigel Lawson, you've got a whole series of other people, and you'll have, come the day, no doubt 3, 4, 5 cabinet ministers who will be...
Doesn't it need to be a better known public figure than Nigel Lawson, who was Chancellor in the 1980s, or Chris Grayling, or even yourself?
No. I mean, people will not make the decision as whether they vote to stay in or leave on the basis of which nice, pretty face is leading the campaign. They'll make it probably on one basis alone, and that is, will it be good for my job or bad for my job? That's where the argument will be. It'll be about economics and about jobs, not about 3 million jobs and all these other bogus numbers that come up. It'll be about my job. Is my industry protected? And so on. So that's what it'll be about. It won't be about
Boris Johnson, Theresa May,
there'll be a lot of argument in Westminster. That'll be very much the Westminster argument. Oh, should Boris lead? Should Theresa lead? Whatever. It won't matter.
Won't matter at all?
Won't matter at all. What matters is the tactics and strategy, how you get the message across. And that'll be decided, actually, before the conclusion of the negotiation.
Nigel Farage has had a pretty torrid time since the general election, culminating in the assassination attempt that apparently wasn't. Is he now is he a liability to the Leave campaign now?
No, probably not. I mean, he's got about 3 million people who are supportive of him. Everybody else...
Supportive of his party.
Supportive of his party, which broadly means him. I mean, he is his party to a very large extent. So, no, I don't think he's a liability. Everybody else knows what he's like. Everybody else knows what his party's like.
He's not lost credibility.
Well, he will have slipped backwards since the general election, no doubt about that. But again, I don't think the personalities will matter. This will be a very personal decision to individuals that will affect.
What percentage of Tory MPs do you reckon will vote to leave?
Well, it's a majority. I don't know what the number will be. I mean, in fact, if you sort of did it tomorrow and there was no other effect, probably 2/3 or so.
Really? Is that including the payroll vote? I
think so, yeah.
So 2/3 of the Conservative Parliamentary Party, you believe, will vote to leave?
I would think. But, no, I say that's if you did it tomorrow. But I think the thing you've got to bear in mind is what the dynamics this will be. You've, like me, lived through an awful lot of prime ministers and ministers returning from Europe and declaring victory. Yeah, and what happens is they arrive on Monday and at 3:30 declare their victory. We have no other information. Nothing else has been published. Most of the decisions have been taken in private. No journalists there, and so we just have. And what will happen is there will be a sort of wave out of that, and I suspect some of that 2/3 will evaporate.
So come the day, how many?
Probably half.
So, but even 50% of the Conservative Party.
I should think so.
How many cabinet ministers do you reckon will exercise their right to campaign to leave?
Not more than half a dozen. So 5 or 6, maybe. I can't think of more than 5 or 6 who would.
Ian Duncan-Smith?
Duncan-Smith, maybe Theresa May, maybe Sajid Javid, maybe Chris Grayling, or certainly Chris Grayling, Ian Duncan-Smith, maybe one other. You know.
What's your reaction to the story this morning that senior officials in Downing Street are vetting and in some cases altering speeches by ministers in Parliament to tone down Eurosceptic comments?
Nothing new in that. I mean, that's been going happened to my speeches back 20 years ago. So,
I mean, is this the start of the government machine?
Oh yes,
getting behind the stay-in
I mean, there were two, in my view, there were 2 or 3 things that David Cameron said this morning which were very important. But he made it very, very plain: the government machine will go gangbusters on one side of this argument, and it started already.
It's now being suggested that Mr Cameron...
And nothing unusual in that, by the way.
I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr Cameron might get some sort of deal which curtails in-work benefits for migrants. Is that a game changer? Does that swing the referendum his way?
He said, or something equally powerful, i.e. not important at all. Because think what this is about. Why do people come from Romania to here? They come because the minimum wage here is twice as big as the average wage in Romania.
And about to get bigger.
And about to get bigger. And in fact, in 2020, according to the Treasury's strategy, tax credits won't matter. That's why they wanted to abolish them. Remember all the big argument last year? So in 2020, this whole strategy will be irrelevant.
What's your best guess for the date of the referendum?
Sometime in the middle, late this year. I would think probably September of this year.
No, not a summer one then?
Well, they might, but they're going to have trouble getting it through quickly. I mean, they've got certain limitations now built into the law, and if they get it through, if they get a conclusion in February, then they might get the summer. But my hunch is they won't get through in February because, bear in mind, they've got 4 basic claims. Only one of which has really been talked about at the moment. You know, some of the others, the parliamentary proposals, are not. The defence of the city, the euro, all this stuff. If it's either going to be just words and not matter, which is where it looks at the moment, or it's going to be serious. The city, for example, basically needs a veto on in-euro legislation relating to financial services. If it doesn't get that, it's meaningless.
Okay. Yeah. If Mr Cameron loses the referendum, does he have to resign as Prime Minister?
Well, truth be told, that's almost the least important question. I mean, the other big thing...
Is there an answer to it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Should he, in your view?
Not necessarily. It depends on how it goes and the terms and so on.
Right.
But there is...
Briefly.
There's one important. He said this morning there's no plans for Brexit. Now, this is actually disgraceful. Because, you know, you've got 2 moderately likely outcomes. We don't know which it'll be.
But there were no plans for Scottish independence in the run-up to the
I suspect
referendum.
there were, but there are no plans for Brexit.
Find them and we looked pretty
but there
hard.
are no plans for Brexit. And that's really, really serious because it's a very complicated operation to carry out if it happens.
We'll leave it there for now.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.